What's up, squad? Back for part 2 of the C8. Is that how we're doing?
No.
Oh, okay.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Welcome to today's video. It is early as hell in the morning. Not early, but more so we were up late. I think it's actually pretty late in the day. It's 8:30. It's still fairly early, but we were up late last night. I have with me the ever so handsome Putano. For those of you who played Xbox with us, you guys know Putano. Today I wanted to talk with you guys about the 2 different shifters that we have here on the table, kind of like the quality differences in them, the mounting differences, why I think which shifter should go in which car I'm going to be building. On one hand, we have the Kinematic Speed, self-centering, super dope, triple bolt through chassis mounted shifter that's like really freaking nice. It comes in at a price range around the 700 mark. On the other hand, we have a PMC shifter, which I think comes in at the $280 mark. And it also is a chassis mount. It just mounts a little bit different. With the PMC shifter, what you're gonna be doing is you have all these bolts on the top here, this plate that's on the bottom, this little ring plate. And what happens is there's a hole in your chassis. They made the bearing plate and the bottom sandwich plate just big enough to grab the edges of the shifter hole that's in your chassis. And so you'll take the top half of this and drop it on, and you'll take the ring half of it and put it from the bottom, and then you'll screw in the screws and sandwich the chassis, which is a pretty nice setup for 200 bucks. It's got good weight to it. The shift knob feels pretty good. Bearing's really smooth. And I've already checked the tolerance on this guy as far as the shifter selector rod going in here, and it's pretty damn tight. So with that being said, this is still a really great quality shifter, and we'll get into this a little bit more in another video when we install it. But all in all, PMC did a really good job. You can get these at drifthq.com. That's kind of a little bit about this shifter. To get into the Kinematic shifter, it's a little bit more involved. Not necessarily, the mounting process may require a little bit of drilling, which they send out a drill bit, super dope. And then there might be a little bit of adjustments. It talks about like throughout the install portion of the instructions here that they have. You kind of gotta, you have your like 1 to 2 first to second gear adjuster screw, so you'd set that. You get the car in there and you don't really want to be pushing beyond that, so you can kind of set a stop for it. And then the same thing, 5th through 6th. This one also does reverse. So there's a certain threshold or whatever that you have to break through to get into reverse. So you'd obviously set this screw, allowing you to still get into reverse, but also not going like super gnarly into 1st and 2nd gear. So it's got a couple of things. One is self-centering. This has a couple of axis pivots. So it's got 1 pivots from a side to side motion, and then this pivot here would go forward and back. It's a little bit more involved than just the bearing, and this is obviously a bulkier system and things like that, so how it fits under a shift boot we'll have to find out when we put this one in a car. There's another feature on this is that there's a shift boot underneath now. So you technically don't need the top shift boot and or the rubber that comes off with the stock shifter. This eliminates all that and puts essentially a gasket in between your shifter base and your chassis, not allowing dirt to get in. With a couple of cars, I've read that there's already an existing hole that you can drop this into as far as one of these 3 bolts. And then you have to just drill 2 holes, or I believe it's the front ones mount in, and then you just drill the back one. Regardless, seems like it's a very simple install. On a hard scale of 1 to 10, this seems like a 3. There's a big quality difference between these. This has still got a great quality to it, but there's obviously a lot more engineering, and there's aluminum casting and different things going into the Kinematic shifter versus the PMC shifter. So with that being said, when we're dealing with the cars that we're working with, I would probably not put the Kinematic shifter into the budget car. One, it's obviously not super budget friendly for the purpose of that vehicle, but 2, it would kind of be almost a shame to put something that is this beautiful and nice and engineered into a car that I'm going to destroy.
Yeah, it's definitely over-engineered for the 4-seater beater.
For the 4-seater beater, this is not the shifter, but we do have another project, and I'll drop it right now for you guys because you probably haven't heard about this, but there is an E36 chassis we are building. It'll be coming to the shop But there'll be an E36 coming to the Casa Diaz garage here. Or just Casa Diaz, I don't know, whatever. Help me name this
Work
place.
in progress. Comment below.
Comment below, tell me what you want to do. But there's an E36 with a turbo 4-cylinder motor going into it. And I believe that this shifter would be best suited for that car. This thing's really freaking nice. So this will be going into an E36 with a turbo 4-cylinder, and I'm really excited to use it and give you guys some feedback on it. But just holding it and feeling it, it is a really nice shifter. I can already tell. Just the machine work that goes into this, because that's a CNC part there.
Yeah, and you can also tell the hardware they're using, like it's nicely zinc plated and everything. Like they actually put thought in where they're putting materials.
Right, and they're going with lock nuts, and this is a very, very nice product. Extremely nice. I believe so far, just looking at it, potentially worth the money. Once we throw it in the car, I'll absolutely let you know if this is worth the money. This thing is beautiful. I absolutely adore it. But this is where we get into the budget-friendly territory. So we're still able to get a lot of short shifting features out of this, a nice heavy shift knob, and a simple mounting system. Both I think are pretty simple. What I do foresee happening with some of you guys, I can see this clamping system failing, but I think you gotta be doing something really wrong to get it to fail. Gorilla strength, bro. I'm finding out in my life that cars like this are not built the same as that car back there. You can't just beat the hell out of this car because it doesn't hold together like the race car does. With that being said, I would be not cautious. I don't think that this is gonna break on you, but I wouldn't go and like slap the hell out of it and, you know, just drive over your head with your brute force. Where the Kinematic, I think you can probably get away with some driving like that. But again, these are all synchronized synchro transmissions, so it's not like there's dog rings or spur cut gears or anything. So we'll try to be a little bit nice to them, but this is gonna be the shifter that we're gonna go with for the Buds on Budget. A couple of things with both of these shifters. One, the carrier that I messed up, that I took from your car, you don't need that anymore. So now, with your transmission being mounted and this being mounted to the chassis, there's no need for a carrier or any extra stuff. So essentially you get rid of the bitch clip in the carrier. That's really nice because it cleans up the bottom of the car and makes it a little bit easier to work on. One of the things I will say is that you should, when doing a chassis mounted shifter, is get yourself some Condor Speed Shop engine mounts and transmission mounts. I mean, I wouldn't do one without the other. There's just really no point. But if you have to pick one, probably do the engine. I don't know. Just do both of them. Just do both of them. Trust me.
You're already there.
You're
already back. Do it.
Your car's in the air. Just do it. So anyways, you would want to do these because you now are essentially trying to secure the transmission to the chassis and the shifter to the chassis so that there's no funny movement or things popping out of gear. It makes sense that it could happen with the way that these two things are going to be working together, the transmission and this chassis mounted shifter. I've seen it with like Hondas and different cars like that have a shifting in the motor or the trans, pop it out of gear and you can really hurt some things. So get you some Condor engine and trans mounts and one of these chassis mounted shifters. Again, Buds on Budget friendly all day long. 200 bucks, two something I believe. PMC through Drift HQ. Between these two, Buds on Budget, race car. This is gonna be a little bit more of a serious car styled shifter. This is gonna be more of a fun, I just wanna go smash my friend's door shifter. So we're going with this one for the Buds on Budget car. And we got some engine and trans mounts to install. So we'll make another video installing this stuff for you guys, but I appreciate you guys sticking around and supporting the channel. As always, boys, stay safe.